Envision you have the family you've always wanted. You have a loving spouse and children that brighten your day even on your worst days. You love them dearly and they love you. Now imagine being asleep and not answering the call of your child on accident. One of your other children lets you know that they're with their friends and they'll be home later. And you say, okay. You go without hearing from him all day because after all, he was one of your troubled children. He'll be back. 2.5 years later, Nicholas Barkley hasn't came back. The thought of what someone could have done to him makes you sick. Where could he have gone? His disappearance never made the news. It was only news to you. Fortunately, 3 years later, Nicholas was found in Spain. After phone calls and investigation, he was finally picked up by his sister and taken back to San Antonio, Texas. But now his blue eyes and blonde hair were brown. According to Nicholas, the men and women who'd run the sex ring operation chemically dyed his hair, eyes, and skin to make him look unrecognizable. And they believed him. His personality was different, he didn't like to be touched, and he was very quiet. Again, he said it was because of all of what happened. They believed him. After a long struggle and numerous disputes from Nicholas's family who didn't want DNA tests or fingerprints done, they finally got them. And the results? This was not Nicholas Barkley, but a 23-year-old French-born Frederick Burden. Frederick recalled feeling like someone finally gave a damn about him. He believed that if he stole Nicholas's identity successfully, he would finally have a family. He wanted to be in a place of people who really cared about him. He wished for a childhood. To have a childhood, you have to have a family who loves you. In spite of what Frederick did to the Barkley family, the documentary doesn't make him out to be a monster or a bad person at all. They make Frederick out to be a lonely, sad, and needing man. The documentary takes highly into account of Frederick's mental health and makes the movie circle around that instead. Recently, as a community, we've seen a push towards the importance of mental health and how it might push you to do things you'd never think of. So how important is mental health and stability? Suicide is Ohio's top 10 killer, so it's important to speak on that subject to find a solution to the problem. The ignorance towards the importance of mental health is something that affects our community, especially with what's happening in Perry local schools and Jackson Memorial Middle School. Finding a solution to this complex problem is hard, but we as a community can start small by speaking up. If we feel hurt, lost, or confused, we must reach out because someone will always be there for us, whether it's our teachers, our family, or our friends. We could offer counseling outside of school, or classes that specifically are designed to deal with grief, depression, and stress. Although what others have done and what Frederick did might be beyond what any of us would do, no one likes to feel like they don't have anyone in their life who loves them.